Correct exposure is not always correct. When we first started learning photography, we were told that you have to get the best exposure possible, correct exposure, to preserve the highlights, the details, and get the maximum, highest dynamic range possible. But there are certain situations where if you're a little off on your exposure, it's not bad. And there's certain situations where if you're a lot off, it can actually look pretty good. Take a look at these photos. These photos are not exposed correctly, and that was done on purpose. Now let me just clarify things a little bit here because I am being a little bit dramatic, but these photos, saying that they're not exposed correctly is true, but also not true. So they're exposed correctly in the way that I had a vision that I wanted and I exposed accordingly. What I'm saying is the standard methods that I learned and the ones that you probably were taught don't apply to these photos. See, when you go to shoot a certain scene, you probably have certain rules in your head that you need to follow. Like you want to do bracketing for the shot to preserve everything. You want to make sure that you get the sharpest background all the way to your foreground. Or you want to expose to the highlights so that the rest of the photo looks good. Or maybe you do ETR, exposed to the right. Maybe that's a rule that you follow. See, the idea behind these rules and methods are solid. They're there so you can preserve the details, have less noise, and overall just walk away with a great photo. But let's talk about certain situations where you might abandon these rules and methods. Honestly, it's better in some circumstances to lose details. Now, why would you want to lose details? Well, mainly because of the fact that they're just not important to the scene. You have a subject that you want your viewer to look at, and you have distracting elements in the bottom or the top. If you darken them all the way down and it makes sense, you can just get rid of them completely and it doesn't detract from the photo whatsoever. For example, this image right here. I've talked about this photo on the channel before, but that's because I love one thing about it. You see here at the bottom, it's just black. There's nothing there. You don't see anything. And that was done intentionally. I've made a silhouette of the mountains, the black bottom, silhouetted mountains, beautiful burning sky. Now, if I expose this photo correctly, then you would end up with something more along the lines of this. I'm just raising up the exposure on this already baked in image, but you can see the details that would have been there if I shot correctly. And you can see these tree lines and these houses, and they're just boring. They detract from the photo, they do nothing, and overall, it just makes this moody, amazing landscape just kind of look flat and boring. I'm trying to accentuate the sunset and make these mountains look powerful and dark. And if I exposed correctly for this image, it just wouldn't have that same effect. Now, this doesn't just apply to landscape photos. This applies to everything. Take a look at this image that I took of my wife. I could have exposed this photo to show her entire face and the background, but that would have taken away from the moodiness of the photo. You have this dramatic background separation from the subject. You have this light coming in from the side, and you have darkness over here, and it all just kind of works together. But if I raise the exposure on this, then you would have the boring wall at my in-laws' house, and you'd have light on this side, and you would lose that dramatic aspect of the photo. Basically, if I expose this photo correctly, it would just lose its wow factor. Take a look at this photo. This photo is underexposed, which was an accident on my part, to be honest with you. This shot was just accidentally underexposed, but I ended up actually enjoying this version of the photo. It's dark and it's moody and it just looks really cool. But you can do this in reverse too, where you overexpose a photo. You can take out the sky completely and make this almost a heavenly glow, this white, blinding, pure white just come down into your scene. It just depends on what you're shooting and what vision you want for that scene. Basically, the way that I look at it is I can always go into a scene and shoot it correctly, shoot it exposed correctly. But then after I have that shot baked into my camera, I can go around and I can underexpose or overexpose and see how it looks, because you never know what might speak to you. A scene could look amazing how it is, but maybe if you underexposed it and lost a lot of those details where let's just say you had a tree in the middle, bunch of brush that was very uninteresting, and you darken that and the light's hitting the tree in a certain way that you can illuminate just one side of it, do it. Try it. If you don't like it, then you have the perfectly exposed photo that you took a minute ago that you can work on. But just mess around with it. Take elements away, add elements, underexpose, overexpose, see what works best for your scene. Don't be afraid to break the rules. And speaking of which, check out my buddy Nick from Light Meets Lens. He just did a great video on breaking the rules. Check that out. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry I haven't uploaded in a while, and this is a little bit of a shorter video. It's just, we've had crazy weather here. We had a massive thaw where all the snow melted. It leaked into my house, ruined a bunch of drywall. So that's what I've been doing for the past couple of weeks. But I'm trying to get back on this YouTube thing. I'm trying to get back out there and shoot some more photos. And I hope you guys tag along. Subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.